Maybe want to turn it around. I'm not gonna for today. All right. I don't really have time for that. Is this on? Where's the...
No, it's over here.
Thank you. All right, so we have that. I'm not seeing it live again. I don't know why this happens. What do I do wrong?
I just gotta finish her.
No, I need to do this. She can,
Okay.
I need to get up.
So it's not showing that it's live?
I just don't, what's on, yeah, I'm not seeing, you can try it on your phone, etc. That's usually the fastest way for you. I'm using my, I don't think it should matter.
You're live.
Why am I not able to see it? This is going to make me crazy. It's only showing me posts.
Yeah, you're live.
Okay, well.
Are you on your personal on that one?
Probably not. I think I should just do this.
I mean, I just saw it when you clicked back.
You just
Scroll
saw
down.
it here?
Yeah, go scroll down further.
God, why can I not see? I cracked myself up.
Scroll down further.
I will.
Keep going.
I will.
Right there.
God. Boost. Okay. Wonderful.
Right there.
Wonderful. Okay, so I don't want to listen to myself.
Yeah, you just have to turn the volume down.
Yeah. Wonderful. Okay, that's going to be good. And the fact that this is so skinny is not something I should really worry about. Oops. I'm going to run out of table here. Can you grab me a damp sponge, please? Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, thank you. You know I'm going to do my whole tap tap for comments? Nope. There we go. See how you... Now this doesn't have, oh God, you're gonna crack up. You can just like, why do you even, so what I don't see is, oh, right. I want one of these. I think so. Let's see, not that. Comments on.
Yeah, you should be able to see if there is any, but there's not.
Right, so it's, oh, that's what I was looking for. Okay, good. Yay, hey everybody. It's not showing me who is, oh, 9 people are here already. All right. Oh, can you, I really wish I had a plate on here. Okay. When you get a chance, bring me the other plates too for next week, you know, for the other classes.
Yes.
Thank you. You can yell at me later for not being organized enough for today, even though I thought I was. Nobody cares that I thought I was. All right. I guess I have time actually to go grab a plate, don't I? Oops, I have my mask off. Oh well. She's out and about. It takes a long time.
I don't like my light switch. She might be, wanna do another one?
Right. I get that. There's no adapting. I have a nephew with autism, so I'm used
Yeah,
to
there
it.
is no adapting, and
You play the cards you're dealt with every single time.
right, and then I'm kinda whispering, going, hey, I know you're being a little rude.
And it's hard. It takes a long
It is,
time.
'cause some people thank you, you take it, but some people don't.
No, I hear ya. Hey guys, as we're gathering, getting it together, I'm just going to show you. Let's see what this looks like glare-wise. Oops, lost our light. All right, let's see what we got here. This will work better.
She wants to use a dotting tool. Can I give her one of the new ones since we don't have any? I don't think we have any yellow or white ones, do we?
We have some extra yellows she can take. Just give her a yellow one because I need those for next week's class. Okay, see if I can raise this, you guys, a little bit so we can see the whole plate. I don't know why we're not seeing the whole plate today. Oh, look at us. Look at us go. Woo. Sorry about the seasickness. Let's see. No, it's not the direction we want to go. All right, that's good. I'm pretty happy with that. That's pretty centered. So I'm showing you, now here, the reason I put this up is, welcome everybody, or everyone who's here so far. I'll talk a little bit while we're doing this. So this is obviously the green plate. I don't know if you can see that. It doesn't really matter. We use the same colors for the design, regardless of the background plate color. What I wanted to show you, hey Christine, hey Ann, I wanted to show you something. It's hard because I can't show you both plates at once, so I'm going to point out a couple things. So I'm going to point out the center of this one. I want you to look at kind of the size of the dots and how close together these dots are. All right, I'm going to show you this a couple times, and I'm going to compare that to a blue plate example. And I'm going to show you, see how far apart these dots are? I'm just going to use a pointer, right? So if I put this paintbrush down here, there's air, if you will, on both sides of it, plenty of it. I can even use my marker, and I'm still going to have plenty of room in between. So this is much more spread out, and the dots are a little bit smaller. This is done by somebody on my team who has what I'll call a slightly lighter hand than I do. I have a very heavy hand. I put a lot of paint down at once. I'm going to show you back again the green plate just by way of example. So remember that thing I was showing you with the paintbrush between. So when I put the paintbrush down between these dots, it's touching both dots. So not only are these dots closer together, but they're also bigger. So neither one is right or wrong. If you look at them both, they're both quite attractive and they look very cool. It's just they look different. And I think that's something I want to point out to you as we're getting started here, because in fact, everybody's plate is going to look a little bit different. So if you have any questions as we go along in terms of, hey, Joan, we just talked. If you have any questions about things, just I'll keep looking at the comments. I'm getting pretty good at remembering to look at them on a regular basis. So I think that's the most important thing I want to point out from the beginning. At this point, I'm just going to go over our tools a little bit. I'm going to pull up the 2 samples so you don't have to stare at those. So you guys have 5 different paint colors for today. And you've got your slightly damp paper towel. And you have your dotting tools. And for those of you who are new, I'll hold them both out. On the dotting tools, you have a white tool and a yellow tool, she said brilliantly. And then you'll notice that we've put a color dot on each one. So if I said something like yellow tool, white dot, we would be using this tip. If I said white tool, yellow dot, we'd be using this tip. And when I say we're going to be using, this tip, what I mean is we have and if you've not ever dotted before, it's good to take a moment. I'm just going to do it on this little scrap of paper and take a tool and pick a color and just dip and dot. Okay, so you can see when I put it in, I don't barely touch it. I dip it, okay, and dot. So when you dip and dot and you do that again, you get dots that are basically the same size. This is a big part of what we're going to do. Dot, 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 dot. And by doing that, what you can see is that the dots get progressively smaller as you do that. So that's a really cool design technique. Now you should keep your scrap paper somewhat near you, because what I always suggest to people is that, hey, Mindy, hey, Desiree, hey, Janet, as we get started, every time we switch to a new color, as we start with a new color, you might want to just use a tip that you've been using and do a practice dot in a different color. And why do I say that? I don't remember what tip I used for that. Maybe this one. But because I just want to show you that sometimes, well, this is a dot of the same size tool could be a different size, because it depends upon the viscosity, okay, kind of like the thickness, heaviness of that particular glaze color. Glaze colors are different in how thick they are. So I might, if I really need this dot, the brown dot, to be the same size as the blue dot, then I'm going to go up a size, okay, of my dot. Now I don't remember. I think I used the wrong size the first time, but I just want you to think about that. That you actually can control that. But it's important to have a little scrap of paper or something nearby, or your placemat that I gave you. You could just do it on the edge of your placemat if you want. Okay, speaking of placemat, your placemat has 2 purposes. One, maybe it keeps your table clean, maybe it doesn't. But more importantly, what it does is it allows you to turn your plate as you go, so that you're always working from what I always call your favorite angle. Okay, it keeps your hands off your plate. Unless if you've just washed your hands and everything, you're all good to go. But a lot of times, you may not have just washed your hands, and you really try to keep the oils on your fingers kind of away from the glazes. These plates, as you all know, are what we call base coated. We've already put 3 layers of glaze on them, so that they'll be a nice shiny color when they come out of the kiln. So whenever you can, if you remember, go ahead and use your placemat to turn, okay? And definitely do turn, okay? So if I'm making dots, I'm left-handed, so my dots I dot better on this side. There's no point in my going all the way across my plate. I'm better off to turn the plate, so I'm always dotting from my favorite side, because I'm just that kind of nerd. I do have a favorite side to dot on. All right, are there any questions before we get started? I don't think I forgot anything critical. I'm checking on you. No? Can I see some thumbs up if we're ready to roll? You've got your, I see a bunch more people just jumped on. So just to reconfirm, we've got our dotting tools and our glazes all open. That's really all we need. Now, if you're looking at your plate then, click your little, there we go. Thank you guys. So if when we get started, you've got your plate marked. The center is marked. Now, I marked mine. I went over mine with a little blue marker because I really wanted it to show up on camera. I was worried, and I think rightly so, that you might not be able to see it through the camera if I just etched them. Yours are just etched. I will tell you, it's certainly nice to have these hash marks here, but it's not essential. So if you can't see your hash marks, it is so not the end of the world. All right, so we're going to focus first on our center. All right, and we're going to use the brown. Well, here's the thing. This is what I always say. I'm going to tell you what I'm doing, but I'm going to also tell you can do what you want. Because when I showed you these two examples, I showed you both of these actually use two colors. So it uses the brown and the, for lack of a better word, I'll call it orange. It's really like a tangerine color. But you could also do your center all in brown or whatever color you want. You can do it all one color or you can do two colors. I don't have, here's the tan plate. Nope, the tan plate's both colors too. I take it back. I don't have a sample on me that has it all in one color, but I know a lot of people have done it that way. So we're going to start with the yellow tool with the white tip, okay, the biggest one. And in the middle, I'm going to put a brown dot. So I'm going to break it in by doing dip and dot. I will tell you things like the longer you leave it on there, the bigger your dot gets. That size of a dot works fine for me. Okay, so what we're going to do next, all right, everybody's got that? So we're going to, if you're going to do two colors, we're going to start with color number one. We're going to switch over to the white tool, and we're going to use the yellow tip, and we're going to put a brown on. Now, if you don't have, you're going to put the brown on each mark, and when I say each mark, I mean on the end of the mark closest to the brown center. Don't worry if the whole mark isn't covered. I don't care. You just want to do that. And you can put, you're going to just put one on each mark. If you can't see your marks, because that happens sometimes, think north, south, east, and west. So that's the other thing you can do. So if I consider that to be north, then I'm going to put my next dot simply over here. South, okay, directly across it. Doesn't matter where it is. I'd like to point out the plate is round. So wherever you say is north becomes north. And then I come on west and I come on east. And once you've done that, now you've kind of established yourself and you can put one dot in between each one. So even if you can't see your marks, that's all the marks are there to do. This is the end of the importance of marks. So this is all we needed the marks for, was to get this done. Does anybody have any questions if you are mark challenged? Nope. No, none so far. Okay. So I'm going to wait a second, let everybody get there. I know it goes a little bit slower in the beginning, and that's fine. I want you to take your time. All right. Tell me when you're done by hitting the thumbs up sign. Sounds good, looks good. All right. Some more thumbs up. Okay. So what we're going to do next is we're going to use the same tip, the white tool with the yellow tip, and we're going to take the tangerine and we're going to put a dot in between each of those. Now here, I'm going to show you, so it's super easy on where my dots are the right size. Okay, I'm just going to come and put a dot here. Now remember I just told you sometimes different colors are different sizes. So I think the tangerine's a little smaller, so you may need to almost do it twice. So it works out fine in between these dots. I have plenty of room. But I did make this dot over here, this brown dot, a little bit big. So I'm going to go light on this dot. Here's a spoiler for you guys. It doesn't really matter if all these dots are not the same size. You will never know. In part because we're going to do something at the end that's going to change them up a little. So I'm just hopefully making you comfortable that if all your dots are not exactly the same, it doesn't matter. You can ask me any questions, like if you do something, if you're like, uh-oh, fill in the blank, whatever you did, I will tell you whether it's something that will matter, and then I will tell you how to fix it if it needs to be fixed. A lot of times, especially doing this step where you're putting a dot in between other dots that are close together, you might have some dots that kiss each other. If that happens to you, do not try to clean it up now. Don't worry about it now. Though it's best to clean up kissing dots at the end when they're dry. I'll show you how to scrape them. If you can't scrape it or you don't want to, when you bring your plate back to be fired, just let us know and we'll look at your plate and we can clean it for you. Okay, kissing dots, but that's really the major challenge that you have. Most other things, like on my plate, the fact that this dot is a little bigger will not be visible. Trust me. Now, we're going to stick with these same two colors, and I'm going to show you a technique. Oh, let me make sure you guys are ready. I'm always careful not to go too far ahead. Have any thumbs up for me? All right, thank you very much. Hey, thanks, Janet. I use you as my bellwether there, so when Janet says we're ready, we're ready. So here's what we're gonna do. Watch me for a minute. Once you get the hang of this, it's A, super easy, and B, really important, because we're gonna do this for the rest of our center. We're going to do what I call triangulate. We're going to make triangles. So we're going to move up a size. We're going to use the white tool with the orange tip. And now what we're going to do is when we put our next dot on, we're going to put it between two dots. Go far enough away so they don't bleed. Okay, your dot should be a little bit bigger than the ones before it. Okay, and you'll notice that these two dots, the orange, the tangerine, sorry, and the brown, and the new bigger brown, all form a triangle. Now, here's the killer thing you need to remember. You'll notice my new big brown dot is, I did it, and no, I can't say things like left and right because let me lift this up so you can see it. Maybe I can get closer to the camera. It's at this angle. If you look at yours, you can see it's to the side of it. So I'm not going to put my next brown here. I'm going to skip over, and I'm going to put my next brown here. Okay, can you guys see that? Does that make sense to you? So that the two browns are aligned here. So it's brown over here. 2020 also, the new one. And then also the same relationship, right? I mean, for me, it's to the right. Hard for me to see. What do you guys have? It is to the left, I guess, on yours. You're reversed. I thought I solved. Oh, I know. I'm doing it backwards. Sorry. So it's to the left of the orange, turn, skip one. It's worth doing this slowly and thinking about it. Left of the orange. Let me check notes here to see if anybody has any questions. I can only hold that on my wrist for so long. Okay, no, none so far. So that's making sense to you guys. Yeah, legacy. Okay. Alyssa, aren't you so proud of me for remembering to check messages? All right. So I'm just going to keep going around. And sometimes I almost have to say it out loud to myself. Left of the orange, left of the orange. Really only, after a while you get, actually I've seen us people, including myself, mess it up on the third circle, so I don't want to say anything now. I'm not yet proud of myself. I'm hoping that moment will come. Okay, so that's what I've got at the end of this, is to the left of each of the oranges. You know what I should do is I should be working higher, closer to the camera. Be on a box or something. If you see one that you think would work. Otherwise, I wouldn't worry about it for today. I can hold it. So that's what we're going to do. Ooh, you can already see the swirl. It's kind of fun to look at it on the screen because you can already see the swirl coming out. I love that. Super cool. All right, any questions on that? Okay, Janet says good to go. So guess what we're going to do now? I know you know the answer to that. We're going to take an orange. See, can you see the orange? Use the same tip, which is the white tool with the orange tip. And I'm going to do the same thing in between each one. Focus more on the triangle bit rather than the fact that it's equal between the browns, because the shape is actually going to be based on the triangle-ness of it. So I want to go at the same height as the browns, right in between. Same height as the browns, right in between. Let's give it a shot. As we dump the paint on the floor. Always special, certainly for the beginning. Let's see what that does. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I really appreciate that. Wow. Never painted at this angle before. This is a new experience. You do want to keep... Let me see if this helps you or not. Oh, yeah. This is brilliant. Brilliant. Okay. So what you want to do is, if you're going to make sure of anything, and you can do this even after you finish them all, is look at all your dots and make sure the size of this dot is slightly larger than the first row of dots. So you can see that here's my first row, here's my second row. So I am meeting my little criteria here. If it's not slightly bigger, you can just pick up a little extra paint and add it to your dot. Okay? And that's what your second row looks like. All right, what are we thinking, guys? Man, those are some good-looking dots, let me tell you. Okay, I already know that I'm weird. Okay, so now we're going to switch over to the yellow tool. And on the yellow tool, we're going to start with the red tip. Okay. And not surprisingly, we're going to repeat the same activity. I'm trying to figure out where the center of the camera is now. All right, it's away from me. Okay. Nope. Oh my God. Surprised they let me out in public, I swear. Sometimes. I don't know which way to go on this. Where's the... Ah, there we are. Okay. Oh, forget it. I'm sorry, you guys. All right. Anyway. Oh, maybe it's over here. It's all backwards. Like I'm dancing all over. Okay. Red tip. So we're going to do the same thing with the brown. We're going to use that red tip on the yellow tool. And we're going to... Wow, I can hardly... We're going to go a triangle in between... the, you know, to the, as I said before, the left of the orange. Okay. So then we're going to come over here and put it. So you should be able to start to see some curving by now. Okay. You're going to curve in the direction of the orange. Skip one and then come to the next one. I'm going to pause and look at comments, make sure this is making sense to people. Yeah, you guys are good. Okay. I think I might have to stand for this. Okay. Turning my plate, because remember I said best to turn the plate. Grab my triangle, grab my triangle. And then when I'm done with the brown, I'm going to do in between with the orange. I know there's no shocker there. Whoops. All right. So that one didn't come out as large, so I just went back, took another dip, because sometimes, you know, you're not paying attention really well and you don't dip equally. That's okay. The only rule I really ever have for painting is you can always add more, you can add less. So if you're going to make a mistake, better your dot should be too small than too big. So I can always add more to it like I'm doing here by repeat dotting of it. Tap, 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 until I build that dot up to the size I want it to be. My voice is deep and gravelly today. I think I'm tired. Let's see, comments. Yep, we're good. Okay, turning. All right. Okay, so finish this row. And then I'm going to put you on the express train after this, because I feel like you'll probably have the hang of it. Now, let's see. All right, so how are we doing? All right. Really? That's not good? No, that's what I thought. I'm starting to get this back, this upside, into the reverse thing. I'm sort of starting to get the hang of it. All right, so one of the things that's really funny about doing, I think I see it the most with the dot mandala, is it's really hard to say, oh, mine doesn't, you know, to see how yours is coming out. People always say, oh, mine doesn't look like that. But that's because you're like staring at it. I look away, or I can actually have the advantage of seeing mine on the, on my iPad screen, and I can see how my design is coming out. So here's what we're going to do next. We just did it with the red tip. The next size tip after the red is the black, and then comes the blue, and then comes the white. So they all just, they rotate around, like if you're looking at it. So we're going to repeat this whole thing where we're going to do the brown, and then the orange, then the brown, and then the orange, and then the brown, and then the orange, which each of those 3 tips. Okay, whoops. So I'm kind of testing you guys a little bit. Giving you a challenge. Making it fun, making it so you don't have to listen to me constantly. Okay, so we're going to start with the black tip. Oops, sorry, while I forget. Yeah, black tip. All right, and the brown. And we're going to do our next row of brown. At this point, you can start to see how, I think you can start to see how the pattern is coming. So the triangle in between, and that helps to keep that, look at that, how that swirl is going on the brown, right? Beautiful. Loving it. All right, between the 2. Triangle. 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 The key thing here to remember is to make sure that you're skipping over one, you know? You're not putting a brown dot where an orange dot should go. That's the mistake most commonly made on this one. So take your time and concentrate on it. You'll be happy. You'll be glad you did. All right. And then I'm going to switch over to the orange. Wow, no questions, huh? You guys are making me feel really good about this. Thank you for that. All right, so I finished that row. Are you guys able to see your patterns emerging? Give me a thumbs up if you can see your pattern. You can start to see the swirliness. All right. I love this. Is so fun. I feel like someday I'm just going to sit down. I'm going to keep finding larger and larger. I do actually have a larger tool set. A big. It's made out of stainless and it has a ball on each end, and so I can keep doing this pretty far out and get some really huge dots. Kind of crazy, but it's fun. All right. So now that I finished the black, I'm going to move on to the blue tip and then onto the white tip. So I'm repeating with each size. And the white tip will be our last one for this pattern. Just so you know, there is an end. So you just have 2 more of these. And then we have the excitement of watching paint dry. And I'll chat with you a little bit while that's happening, because we definitely have to have the paint dry. It's better if we have the paint dry a bit before our next step. Probably should have told people to bring a hairdryer this one. But it'll dry pretty good on its own. Sometimes I have to pause and make sure I'm getting it where I want it. So don't feel like you have to rush. Get your eye where, bring it into sight before you commit with your dot. Okay, it's like, make sure you know where you're going. And if you're not sure, because to be honest, around now, you can start to lose count. You can always come in and count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yes, I got them all. That's awesome. Trust me, I've been known to move on to the next step and go, oh, shoot, I forgot one. And then I have to go. It's not a big deal to add them in, but it's just kind of funny when that happens. You're just thinking, how hard is this? I can't believe I skipped a dot. Okay. Okay. So that's that row completed. And then I'm just going to do my last row. As will you. Whoops. What do you say there, Christine? Whoops. Do you actually touch the plate with the tool or drip? I touch the plate. Yeah, it won't drip. It'll take forever if you try to drip it. Yeah, I definitely touch the plate because, in fact, what I'll do... 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Sorry, I wanted to see where I left off. I definitely am touching it, and how long I leave it touching will control how much paint goes on the plate. So I don't touch it. It depends on the color and how much. See, look, I drip mine a great deal. My tip is typically saturated. So I touch it, but then I pull it away. If you use less paint, and you can tell right away if your dot isn't big enough, then you might let it sit there for a minute. But the brown is a very wet paint. So it forms its little puddle there pretty readily. So I don't leave it for too long. If I don't, like that last one, I didn't have as much on it, so I had to leave it there for a little second longer. But I definitely touch the plate with it. Okay. And now the last thing is to do the same thing with the tangerine. Okay. Now, I can tell you guys right now, this is super funny, okay? I just did. If you look at this one, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I did miss a brown, which is not a big deal because super easy to add it right here. But that's what I'm saying is you can count them. When you're done, you should have 6 in each line. If you want to call this a line. I guess it's still a line. Just because it's swirly doesn't make it not a line, I guess. I don't know. This is not math class. All right, that looks like it for me. Let me see. Play around getting this centered better for you. Let me see. How's that working? All right. Oh, it's a good looking swirl, huh? I know. I like to really, truly enjoy my swirl. Okay. Oops. That's some darn terrible centering. I think I need to do this. Alyssa, I am like a failure at centering. I just don't, my brain does not understand where the camera is.
The camera is more towards the top of your phone.
Right.
Wait, are you facing the screen of your
Yeah,
phone?
I'm facing the screen. I have the screen down today. I could try switching it over, but that'll probably make everybody crazy.
So that, the camera's more towards the top of the phone.
Yeah, it should be.
Yeah.
You would think.
Right now it's not centered.
Yeah, I get that. Thanks.
Do you want me to try to move it for you?
I feel like I have to learn this myself. It's just also the 7-second delay. Does not, whatever I just did was great. Then I have to remember what I did. I think I did, oops, now that's bad. So I came toward me, that was good. The next step, let me see if I go toward the stand. Hey, Janet, all right, so you've got a swirl. You're loving your swirl. All right, I'm just waiting to show. Oh, that was terrible. That was a big mistake. Crud. It's exactly the opposite of what I thought I was supposed to do. So what if I did that? Go away from me. No, this is ridiculous. I'm surprised they let me out. Because the phone is right here, so I need to move it kind of like this. It's just not that hard. Oh my gosh, yay! Okay, so what we're going to do is I'm actually going to take it like a, need to take a little, not a moment to thank our sponsors, because that's you guys. But I'm going to show you some of the upcoming stuff because I really need to let this dry for a second. So rather than just sitting here in silence or singing along to the music, which I could do, but you'd be sad, I'm going to just show you a couple of the plates that we have coming up if you haven't seen them already. So I'm going to take my plate away. So this is called Black and Blue. And this is a plate that we're doing next week. Now, I did switch from Wednesdays to Tuesdays starting next week. So I hope that doesn't mess anybody up too much. Well, that's pretty close. So let me try to get it further. Oh, now I'm really going to be sorry later when I have to get this recentered. But anyway, this is, I moved it down so you guys can see more of this design in case you like it. Hey, Alyssa, thank you for the recommendation, by the way, on this light. It is so good. It is perfect for this. There's no glare. I'm so happy. Thank you. So anyway, this is called Black and Blue, and I just love this design. It's a ton of fun. So this is on this coming up next Tuesday, which is, today's the 15th, so I think that's the 21st. I really have to send my sister a birthday card. It's her birthday. Okay. All right, so that's coming up. And then the week after, now this is a brand new design, the next one. I'm pretty happy with it. I called it 2020. I think it's kind of got a rainbow effect, and it just has this really awesome, I don't know, it did what I wanted to do in spades. I just am so happy about it. So this will be coming up on next week is the 21st, so the week after is the 28th, Tuesday the 28th. Oh, yay, you like it. Thank you. Oh, I'm so happy. I love it. Oh, I can't wait to teach you this one. So those are a couple of plates that we have coming up. The week after that I have, which I think is May the 5th, we have a little, it's interesting. I wanted to do something for people who were maybe a little bit shy about putting their foot in the mandala water. So you have your choice of either a salad plate, which is probably about the size of the center here, or a mug, and just doing, it's a pretty design. I enjoy it. I've done it several times. I'm on my way to a matching set of mugs. And you could do one, you can do 2 pieces, whatever, but it's a little smaller, a little less expensive. It makes the dot mandala maybe a little bit more accessible to more people. That's what I'm thinking. So anyway, those are coming up. If you go, we've also revamped our website, and we're actually going to try to organize it more, because, you know, I wasn't originally an online store, but circumstances have pushed us in that direction for the time being. So I've got a lot of kits on there, a lot of opportunities for at-home projects. So right now we have like a bunch of Mother's Day ideas. We've got a lot of clay projects. For anybody who did our clay bunny and clay gnome, we now have a clay fairy house or gnome house that's pretty cool. Comes with great directions. My manager, Emily, did the directions, and I was blown away by how great they are. I know that doesn't mean anything to you guys, but for someone who writes directions a lot, it's very exciting to see really, really good directions. So I have those clay projects, and I'm actually going to be adding, I haven't done it yet, I'll probably do it next week, but I finally figured out how to make acrylic pouring into a to-go project, into something you could do at home and not hate me forever for the mess. So I've got a couple of things for that. So I'll be putting those up there. And the other thing that we're doing, a lot of people are saying, you know, they really like the fact that I have the paint your own pottery that people can take home, because, you know, you've always wanted to paint something, fill in the blank, a platter, a bowl, matching set of bowls or mugs or whatever, but you haven't had the time. And so because painting pottery is so relaxing, like even for me, you know, I work 2 jobs. I'm still working those 2 jobs, and just differently. But in the evening, by the time I like sort of sit down, just grabbing some paints and some pottery and just working on a project is so relaxing for me. So I'm trying to put more of the stuff up on the website to give people access to it. All right, let's see if I babbled on long enough. The paint is still wet, but it's not going to move, so I'm going to have you guys be super careful. That's my solution to watching paint dry. All right, now everybody received in their kit, this is a watching me kind of moment, one of these petals. If you have a petal shaped like this that's rounded on the bottom, that's going to need some work. Some of you already got one that I love. Maybe I'll just call it pre-ripped. That's actually a benefit, okay? It's going to work out well. I'm going to fold this one up just to show you what I'm trying to do, because we really don't need the bottom to be rounded. We really want it to be flat. So what I want is for this leaf to essentially go, let's just work on the oranges, from the center of one orange to the center of another. So can you guys see that? I'm going to try to hold my fingers out of the way. There, can you see? Let me see, I'm waiting for it to show up here. Oops, I need my box back. Now, this is really high-class materials here we're working with. Okay, now I have to wait and see how this shows up. But I think it's going to work. I think it's better. I want you to get, this is going to be a slippery slope, okay? Get as close to the dots as you can, but do not touch them, because they will smear, and we can't fix smear, just so you know. Makes me sad. So come close, but don't worry if you're a little far away. Like on this one now, okay, this is me figuring out how to get where I want to be. Nope, come this way. So I'm very close to that brown dot, but not that close to the yellow dot or the orange dots. I don't care. I just really can't be any closer to that brown dot. So what you're going to do then is you're going to use the green tip of the white tool, and you're just going to lightly etch or, you know, trace the edge of that. All right. Now, that's going to be hard for you to see on the camera, I think. Yeah, you can see it on yours. So I'm going to do mine in a watercolor, in a cheap marker. If you, so that it'll show up on camera better. But you should be able to just give it a good etching. If you pick yours up and it doesn't etch very well, then etch it again. Okay, it doesn't have to be deeply etched. As long as you can see it, that's all you need. You're not going to need it for very long. Okay, so then I'm going to move it so that my edge is touching, right? Middle of one to the middle of the next. Close to the brown, but not touching. All right, and then etch. So I'm watching. Nobody said anything like, what are you talking about? Okay, I like that about you. So I'm going to etch again. I'm just going to etch again because I'm going to do this one a little bit deeper so you are not afraid to go deep. You can see the powder coming up. Not a big deal because we're going to be painting over this line. Yeah, you still can't see it on the camera. Let me see if you can. Let me be patient with myself. I just assume you can't see it. Meh, not too well. Okay, I was right. So I'm just, for photography purposes, going to outline it. So go all the way around and do that. Do not worry about the line at the bottom here. This is so not important. When you're dotting, you'll just naturally take care of that. So this is just to give you an idea so that your petals end up equally spaced. But do not worry about, the bottom. You can deal with that. I'm going to show you lots of ways you can deal with that. But the most important thing, nothing is worth the risk of touching one of your painted dots. Whoops. Downside of the marker is you write all over your plate like a 3-year-old. Now, keep in mind, you're always trying to go from the middle of one dot to the middle of the next. So you'll see, like on this dot, I'm a little bit beyond middle. So I'm going to just cheat a little bit, okay, and bring it in because I don't want to... Oops, just stuck my finger in the paint like I said not to. Well done. I don't want to end up off the mark. So while you're using this as a brilliant guide, you still want to make sure you're going from the middle of one to the middle of the next. I'm going to take a peek here for a second and see if anybody has any questions while I wasn't looking. Nope. Okay. Push it away. I am not worrying about this dot over here that I stuck my finger in because we're actually going to, when we're done with the petals, we're going to put another set of dots on top of those big dots. Well, I guess if you want to, you don't have to. There's no rule. But anyway, so I'm not going to see the part where I stuck my finger in it. That's why I always tell you, let me know if you make a mistake or do something because sometimes it matters and sometimes it doesn't. All right, so we all got the hang of tracing. The nice thing, just so you guys know, well, first of all, I'm not keeping this plate because I have a million of them, but also the cheap washable markers come off of glaze. They burn off. If you try to use a good marker, it backfires on you, so that's kind of interesting. All right, so I'm going to bring that down low so you can see it all. That's what it kind of looks like at the end. Yeah, look at that all centered and everything. I got the hang of this. Okay. Thank you for the heads up. All right, everybody getting it. I don't want to go too fast because I want you to see the next step. So I'm looking for your thumbs up when you let me know that you're done with this step. Now, I have done, I'll just chat for a sec. I have done some of these where I only had one layer of petals just like this. So you don't have to do the behind the level. That's like Jackie words, sorry. So if we look at this one, right, what we've just done now is this row of petals. So now we're going to mark in the behind petals. I'm sure there's a proper name for that, but we'll just go with behind petals. If you don't want them, you don't have to put them on. There is no rule. Again, I'm looking at the 3 samples you guys have seen that you have in front of you. But those are all full ones. So what I do for the next layer, is anybody going, let me just make sure. Hey, Nancy. If there's a reason kind of not to move forward, but nobody's hollering, so we'll go with it. So what I want to do for the behind level is, you can look at the pictures that you have that I gave you, but the behind levels are going to come out a little further, right, than your front layer of petals. So keep that in mind for positioning. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to decide where I want to put my petals. Now I'm going to position this petal. I'm probably too far away for you to see. I probably picked the wrong angle. So I want the tip of this petal to be higher than these, but I don't want it to be going up the slope. And that's just because I don't like to paint up the slope, just being honest. So I'm going to position it where I want it. And I'm happy with this. I'm actually going to bring it in a little. I don't want it that far up. Okay, I'm happy with that. I changed my mind. So you can see I have a little V showing here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to mark on my leaf, on my petal, where it meets the petal on each side. Does that make sense? Okay, I'm marking where and that way I can line it up the same way all around. So go ahead and give me a thumbs up if that made sense to you. This is pretty funny. Watching it makes it look like I'm right-handed. All right, let me see if there's a comment there, because I'm worried that this doesn't make sense to somebody, because I'm not getting my thumbs. Oh, there's thumbs. Thank you. Okay. Woot, woot. All right, so go ahead and etch those on. Okay. Again, I'm using the marker so it shows up on the camera. But just go ahead and put them in. So when I move to the next one, I'm making sure that my marks touch that petal. It's not a science, so don't stress on it, but pretty close. All right, that's good. Yes, I like positive affirmations. All right, turn. Remember to turn the plate so you're always working from your strength. Okay. Hey, and just as a reminder, you guys, Nancy, are you still on there? Let's see. Yeah. So, Nancy owns Harmony Acres on Union Street here in Cobleskill. And she's also got pick up and drop off. So if there's things that you need, art supplies, because, I carry some art supplies, but that's not really what what the studio is. We're obviously much more project oriented and stuff. But if you're working on projects at home and you need stuff, she's been working like crazy to bring Harmony Acres back and to do some really, I've seen their pictures. I haven't seen it since her kind of, her quarantine work, but I can't wait to see it when we can go back in. But anyway, give her a call if there's something you want. She can pack it up for you and have it waiting for you curbside. Just, especially, if you've got kids at home and stuff and you just need some supplies, she's a great, great resource for that. I really love, I don't know, for those of you who are local, our local paper, the Times Journal, ran this really fun contest sponsored by the Cobleskill Partnership, which is our downtown revitalization group, which I guess is going to have their work cut out for them after this is all over. But, they really are always looking for ways to help out our small businesses. And they're doing a really fun kind of like a contest where they have a thing of all the businesses downtown that are open in any way, and you collect your receipts, and anyway you turn them in and you win prizes. And I just like the idea of it. It sounds fun. It makes things a little bit more springy, fun-like. That's my thoughts. on the subject. So I just saw that today. So anyway, it looks really messy. I'm really sorry with the ink. I'm not used to that. But that's what yours is going to look like when you're ready. So again, I'm going to wait for some thumbs up to get you started on the next step. All right, any questions? Gosh, it looks so much better on camera. You guys should put all yours on cameras if you're complaining, because it really looks great. I'm pretty happy with that. Okay, I'm not rushing. I'm just going to put my box back, because now I'm in love with the box. You've changed my whole approach here, Alyssa. All right. So, let's see what that does for a... All right. Oh, perfect. Perfect. Okay. That's just making sure I know where I am. So I'm putting my finger here. It's probably wrong. I'm probably on the wrong end. I probably want to be working over here, right? Well, now I don't know because I moved it. That wasn't where I thought I was. Oh, okay. Let's see what happened now. Nope. All right, so this is the one I think we're going to work on. This is the one that's most visible next. Nope. Let's see where we're at. Oh, I'm not where I thought I was. I want to be over here? I really don't. I'm back to failing again. Oh, I see my tool. Oh my God. All right, is everybody done etching in their petals? Let me hear from you guys. Yes, okay, great. Now I'm seeing. I'm sorry I wasn't watching. I was trying to figure out where I was. I'm going to have to take this down a level because it gets too close and I can't figure out where I am with this camera. All right, so we're going to switch over to the strawberry, the reddish color. We're going to go to the red color, and we're going to use the yellow tool with the red tip. Okay, and we're going to basically dot the entire close-in set of petals. Okay, so we're going to... Now, I will do a couple, it depends. You can control the amount of paint that drops, so you don't have to dip and dot every single one by how hard you press. So Christine, this is kind of similar to what you asked before, right? Right now I'm barely touching it because I've got a lot of paint on here, but as I have less and less paint, if I dot harder, then I get roughly the same size dot. So this is a cheater way, okay, to be able to get 3 dots in a row that are basically the same size without having to dip, dot. By the first one, I just do a barely light touch, and then a little harder touch and a little harder touch. All right? That's how I do it. You can dip, dot each one. There is no right or wrong way to do that. 1, 2. Okay. Let me see if you guys have any questions, because other than that, I can leave you in peace for a little bit to dot away all your edges. Questions? No, because it's pretty obvious. Okay, good. So, even though when you're putting each dot down, I will tell you from, having done oh so very many different plates, that you think that if your dots are different sizes, it's going to look terrible. But in fact, on this in particular, by the time you're done, filling in your petals, this will not at all be visible. So if they're off, some are bigger than others, it will not be noticeable. I know you won't believe me until you see your fired plate, but that's okay. I can wait. I'm patient. Tomorrow I'm going to post all the Celestial Blues plates from last week came out of the kiln today. And everybody got a call from me whose plates came out. And so I think only one person turned hers in so far afterwards. But my point is, they came out great. You guys whoever did that plate, they're beautiful. And can't wait for you to see them. I do love to take those. That's my favorite pictures is, when I do a whole batch and they all come out of the kiln and we put them all on the table and take a picture of them next to each other. It's quite cool. Sometimes when you are dotting on top of an etched surface, you might notice that one of your dots doesn't completely form a circle. I will give you the Jackie, that does not matter. It will circle out. I don't know what word to use when it's fired in the kiln. The more you try to futz with it, kind of the worse it gets. But again, you can keep track of it because if you think it's a real problem, you can bring that to our attention when you drop off the plate. Okay. All right. Looking to see if anybody's got any questions. So far, no. Hope you guys find this as relaxing as I do. This is one of the reasons why I think the sunflowers, I was going to say one of our most popular designs, but it might be even the most popular design. It's just got a lot of opportunity for peace and tranquility, especially if you turn down the volume and don't listen to me. Oh, just a little dotting humor. Let me check for messages. Nope. All right. Also, in case you're wondering if you go off your etched line a little bit, not a big deal. The etch will disappear in the kiln. You probably assumed that already, maybe. I don't even know, but that's true. That's what happens. All right. Now, I'm on my last petal, but I am sure I am way ahead of you because I've done this so many times, and I'm a fast dotter to begin with. So once I do finish this, I'm going to pause and wait for you guys. for you for remembering to do that. All right. Okay. All right. So there we go. We've gone once around. This is your mug?
Yeah.
You did. Jackie, no. Now I know you didn't pour the one right before that. That made it like that. How are those going, by the way? Okay, cool. Excellent. All right, anybody else done with their first row of petals? Okay. This, I will just tell you, is the longest step, is getting that first row of petals done. Obviously, it's the biggest diameter, or, you know, etc. So, I think all I can say really is that it picks up the pace after this. What I like to do next, and again, the neat thing about doing the inside of the petals is you actually can do what you want. You essentially have 5 colors to work with. So I'm going to show you what I do and what I like, but it doesn't mean that you're going to like it. So what I do is I repeat with the same tool, the same tip, which is the yellow tool, and the red tip, I think is what I used, right? Sorry, mine's like a sieve. And I'm going to put a second row on just one side, okay, of the petal. So just one side, I'm going to do that because it helps me make it not symmetrical, and I don't want it to be. I kind of want it to look like it's shaded. So I will say this and then say, if you are, freaking out at the idea of it not being symmetrical, you do not have to do it the way I do it. Or you can do your second row all the way around. But I'm going to just do it on one side of each petal. You can move on to a new color if you don't have, so if you want to go your own way, nothing wrong with that. But right now I'm going to go and add a second row of the same color, same size to each petal. Okay. Remember that whole right here is very key, that you can definitely turn your plate so that you're always dotting in the same direction. First of all, it goes faster, but also it kind of keeps you somewhat automatically more uniform when you're dotting the same way. You can also start nice and close down to your center dots if you want to. I didn't mention that. You can always go in and add a dot at this point if you want to. But you can come, like I, come right back here so that it just about is in between, this second row in particular has a little bit of a dot, so it ties it in with the center better. You can do it on the first outlined one too. There's no reason not to, but I definitely, starting on the second row when you're doing the inside of the petal, you can do that. So it's a little further down. Okay. All right, so I've done mine all the way around. I have 2 rows. So I'll wait and see how you guys are doing. Am I going too fast, going too slow? Am I the Goldilocks of dotting? Is this just right? Cool. All right. All right, anybody else finished with sort of close or? Now, I tend to use the same size tool on all of these, the yellow tool with the red dot, and until I get to the very inside, certainly for the next row. But you can also, if you want it to be smaller and denser, you can use the white tool with the orange tip. I will use that one later, but for now I'm going to stick with this one. And I'm going to switch over to the orange, or that tangerine color that we used earlier. And I'm actually going to do that one all the way around each petal. All right, so I'm going to come up each petal and then go down the other side. Kind of like exactly like what we did on the outside. And again, I'm bringing that one a little bit closer to my center dots. All right. Questions? Nope. Okay. Okay. All right. Questions? Hey, Britt. Welcome. I know, it probably surprises you guys. I don't know if you know that when you sign in, I see you. So I just like to say hi. Brittany, I hope you're doing okay in Hartford. Brittany's finishing her senior year. Used to work here at the studio. So I'm thrilled that you joined us because, you might actually find this exciting to watch. All right. So all the way around on the inside with the orange is next. Okay. You should let me know. You should, Britt, look online for the next couple of, I think the next 3 weeks I have the projects up already. Because if there's one you want to do, I can mail you the kit. And then at some point, when you see your mom or whatever, she can bring it back to get fired if you want. That actually could be a kind of cool Mother's Day present. Unless, of course, you want to keep it for yourself. Just throw it out there as an idea. So let me know. All right, how we doing on the second row? Anybody telling me they're just about done or anything? Oh, good luck finding the state. Oh, it is over here. So for any of you who are finishing up somewhat quickly-ish or are finished now, what I do next, and I'm hoping you guys can see this. I mean, if you look at the picture that I included, kind of hard to see. So you can see if you're looking at the jade plate. Yeah, they are actually all done a little differently. The tan and the jade are the two plates that I have done. Someone else on the team did the blue plate, and that one doesn't have the shading and it's not as full on the inside, and that's perfectly reasonable. And you can switch up the colors. So if you're doing a tan plate and you'll notice that having the orange and the yellow next to them, the yellow kind of disappears. If you don't like that look, don't use the yellow. You can do whatever you want with this. So I'm just mentioning that to you. So what I do next after I've gone all the way, around with the orange is I am going to go actually just on one side with the yellow. Okay, so I'm going to just do the same side because I actually want this to start to look less symmetrical, which is funny, right? Because if you look at the plate in the picture, your instinct is to say it's symmetrical, but it's not. And if I really did it symmetrically, I mean, you can, there's something wrong with that. So I'm going to put a yellow just up one side. Okay. And then I'm going to do just this one to show you what I, quote unquote, do next. You'll notice that as I get to the inside, sometimes I will do that dot, dot, dot thing I mentioned to you. I'll do another one so I can show you again. Where I'm starting, I have big dots down here, but as it gets closer to the top, I am going to trail off, dot, 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 so that they're a little bit smaller in that kind of more tighter space. Let me do another one because make sure everybody, in case you weren't watching, which is fine. You're doing your own dotting. Why should you be watching? But, so I just go dot, 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 and I get these tiny little dots at the end. But I guess what I wanted to show you then is I'm actually take the red, the strawberry, and I'm going to, on the inside of the orange, on the other side, I come up and did another row of that. Okay, so it's yellow on one side, strawberry on the other. Any questions on that? Nope. Okay. So orange on one side, yellow on one side, strawberry on the other. It's kind of cool, Brittany. You could even do it with your mom, right? From a distance if you wanted to. So she could be doing it in Cobleskill and you could be doing it in Hartford. Okay, I just sort of think about it. I just actually sent a kit to my daughter-in-law so she can join in. I think one of my daughters is going to do one as well. So it's kind of be like our version of a Zoom class. I am going to start doing some classes on Zoom as well. I kind of like doing them on Facebook because it's so easy for people. But there's some advantages to Zoom, because just in terms of the visibility and stuff. So I'm thinking of trying to do some. I have a Zoom account. For those of you who've heard about the issues related to the security with Zoom, a lot of that has issues because people didn't actually set up their sessions using the safest mode. Like when I do them, and I do them for other kinds of work as well, but you want to make sure that you have people waiting in a waiting room so that you can check them off. And so you don't have anybody, everybody has to get admitted, I guess, is the point. So you don't admit somebody you don't know. It's kind of like your front door. And then also you make sure Zoom always asks you to set a password. And I guess a lot of people maybe didn't set a password because, they were thinking, why do that extra step? But I always set a password. And then I also don't leave it up, beyond, like I don't send it out that far ahead of time so people can't go fishing for it. So anyway, I'd like to say I practice safe Zooming. So that should give you some confidence. I don't know. I'm sure we can still be hacked. Anything can be hacked. But hopefully will take care of most of the issues that people are experiencing. So I did yellow up one side, red on the other. And again, I always like to say you can do what you'd like. You can change up your colors. It's kind of fun to watch it all come together. I don't know how many of you are just kind of doing your own thing. Give me a thumbs up if you're ignoring me completely. Or using your picture as a guide. Or got the hang of it. So you're just... Because, you can use your inner muse. Nothing wrong with that at all. There you go. I tend to finish my inner petals first and then do the outer petals, just because then I kind of have a better sense of what it's going to look like. But you don't have to. You could start to outline your outer petals if you wanted to as well, your second row. So after I finish the yellow on one side and the red on the other, I'm actually going to do some brown. And I'm going to switch to a smaller tip for this because I'm starting to get into the center. I want to get 3 more rows in here. So I'm going to use my white tool, with the orange tip next. All right, and I'm going to use the brown. I'm going to do the brown up one side, which is the side with the yellow. So I'm just going to do some brown over here. These will be a little bit smaller. And also, as I said before, once I get in here, I don't mind if my dots get a little bit smaller as I get near the top. So you might just do a dip and then dot, 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 dot. It actually, one of the things that's an advantage about doing that is it gives it some movement. I don't know if you guys can see this, right? But if you look at this, kind of just the way it does over here when you have the different size dots, it gives it a little bit more movement. And in a flower petal, that's not a bad thing. All right, so I'm going to do brown on just one side. You'll notice sometimes that as you go on, when you go back to dip, if you already have like a lot of glaze left on your tip, you'll get larger dots. So you can always wipe your tip in between if it's bugging you. All right, so I did brown up one side, and then I'm actually, for me, I have to make a point to tell you that I'm doing yellow on the other side. And then I'm going to have room for 1 row up the middle, and I'm going to do the blue. Which, for those of you with the blue plate, you may want to, it's a different, if you look at the picture, I happen to use the blue on the outside of that one because I didn't do it, that's right. Someone else did it. But if you didn't do that, you can see the difference there once it gets fired, how it's a very different blue. I guess that's really what I wanted to tell you. So it's not like you have to worry about it blending in. It's a very bright blue. So if it turns out that I get far ahead of you, or I've gotten ahead of you, and you're wanting to follow my color set, just shoot me a message and I can tell you what color I'm doing. Otherwise, I'll assume you're either on pace or happily doing your own thing. All right. I'll also tell you guys that, if there's any kind of a piece that you're interested in, or there's a certain class that you'd like, or somebody had said to me last week or so, it's like, hey, why don't you do a canvas class? And I hadn't really thought about it for no reason, so now we're doing one. So feel free to ask me for what you want. I'm happy to do it. Adapting and keeping us all sane and engaged in doing something we want to do is kind of the name of the game these days. All right, the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use that same, I'm actually going to go down a tip. I'm going to go down to my white tool with the yellow tip, and I can repeat this for you because I just want to make sure this is going to fit in here. And this is definitely one where you just do the dot, dot, dot. Okay, where you don't keep dipping because you want your dots to get smaller as you go up. One of the things that's funny about painting, with glazes is what I call the trust factor, because this looks so dynamic when it gets fired. I mean, it looks fine pre-fired, but it looks amazing you know, when it's all fired. A lot of times, if you've done designs with us, you know, like when we do a black plate, by the time that glaze dries, I put the black on, it looks very gray, so it's almost hard to appreciate it, how bright it is. So we have, so I've got, right, brown on one side, yellow on the other, and then the blue up the middle. All right, so I'm going to, for those of you who are following what I'm doing here, let me know, you know, if I'm kind of at the same point with you. Am I too far ahead of you? Are we happy? All right, so I'm going to do the outer petal. The outer petals, I actually tend to do a little bit more symmetrical because I want them to have a little bit of a different look. So I actually do the colors in the same order. All right, so I'm going to go back to the yellow tool with the red tip, and I'm going to use the strawberry, and I'm going to outline my outer petals with the strawberry. Oops. How many did you get done, Alyssa?
Six, but I have like
Wow.
10 of them like prepped, like with half the stuff they need. I have like 10 of them, or yeah, 10 of them prepped with like the stuff they need, so they have like the white in them and the little card and stuff. I just have to put the.
Just have to staple?
No, I
Oh.
put the exploding paint in it and then staple whatever exploding paint
Okay.
is on the outside of the bag.
That's fine. How many plates do you have done?
The 4 you wanted me to do.
The first group.
Yeah.
Okay, just curious. It's been a heck of a night.
I have to mop the floor at some point. I don't. No.
That was my idea.
Okay.
You don't have to. That was before this all happened. Or, you know. Very excited. Tomorrow I am bringing 60 art kits over to the hospital for the nursing staff and the and their kids. So partnered with a local group that I brought some kits over to them last week on my own, and I guess this group, I don't know, heard about it, and so they said, hey, could they help me and put together some more kits? So I said yes. So we put together 60 kits of art supplies, and we're bringing them over. Well, actually, it's really fun for the nurses. We're doing I call it potluck pottery. We're doing a paint your own pottery mug, which is kind of cool. And what I don't know, for those of you who have painted with us at the studio, I have these paints that we call exploding paints. And basically you paint them on, and because they have little bits of what's called frit in them, which is basically glass, because glaze is glass, when it gets into the kiln and gets heated up to its lovely 1800 degrees, the little bursts of color burst forth, and you get these amazing, absolutely stunning looks. So I thought that's just a fun and relaxing thing. Anybody, whether you like to, paint or not, can get an amazing result from it. That's kind of what I love the most about the exploding paints, as we call them. So anyway, we did 30 mugs like that. And then for the kids, we gave them some big canvases, and we, traced the painting on, or a shape on, and they can choose which one they want. We gave them paints and everything. So I'm happy about that, because my kids are grown, so I don't have to worry about, keeping them occupied. But I certainly can imagine for people who have to, as frustrating or difficult I think as it is to try to get your work done at home while your kids are at home, I think that when times are so uncertain, it can be doubly hard if you actually have to go out, because you're in a role where you're exposed to the exact thing we're all trying to avoid, and you don't get that luxury. So I just wanted to do something nice for them. So I'm excited to be bringing those up there. And I've already got a plan for next week. So it's how I keep myself busy and out of trouble. It's a dirty job, but someone has to do it. Okay, so I've got my first row on the outside, and now I'm going to go around and do the next row. I'm using the tangerine next. And then when I do this one, I'm just coming down to, not going around the side. I'm just bringing it down to where the petals meet. Okay, so just to here. So it's just going to be at the tip of the flower, or the petal. Okay. Okay. All right, so how are you guys doing over here? So Brittany, for the Colonial Burst, that video is actually up on our on the Facebook site. I'm actually going to be copying all of these videos over to our YouTube channel as well. So I did that class the week before last, but even though I'm not live, you can watch it and do the plate, and it should be just like doing the class. I mean, I have a lot of people, someone who actually just ordered that plate this week, so a lot of people do them after the actual live class. Sometimes people start them with me, and then just, it's like, okay, I got it, or I can only listen to you for an hour at a time, Jackie, so I'm going to finish it later. But you can do it from the video. And I always remind everybody that if you... if you're doing it, like, let's just say it's not live, so you can't post a question or a comment during the class, but you have one, just call the studio. To be honest, these days, because we're not open all that much, I have the studio phone rings over to my cell phone, so you can pretty much get me anytime, except when I'm sleeping, I turn my phone off. But I'm happy to help. I mean, I certainly know these patterns quite well and can help you with them. And this is my passion, so I have no problem with doing that. So yes, there is a video, Brittany, for the Colonial Burst. All right, so for those of you who are, ready to move on to the next level, what I do next is I actually switch over and am going to do the V at the bottom. Okay, so I'm going to switch over to the white tool with the yellow tip. And I'm going to I use the blue for this. And I'm just going to make what I call a little V that comes up the side. Okay. It's basically a total of 5 dots. A big dot in the center, then 1, 2, and then 2 on the other side. Okay. One of the things that's fun about doing this series is that I'm kind of doing a different style of plate every week. I mean, the Colonial Burst, the first one, is more of a traditional technique, for lack of a better word. But then last week we did the Celestial Blues, and that was actually one that I was able to give out directions for, because now a lot of people joined in for the Facebook Live as well, but because that one is less instructive, like you don't have to do the put this dot here, it's more free-flowing, you could do it just from the directions, or you could, do it along with me on the Facebook Live. And then this one's different because it's like got a shape that you're filling in. So that's kind of cool. Right now I'm working on a 4th of July design, so just so you know, spoiler alert. That's kind of going to be fun. So, all right, so I did put that blue, made the blue V at where the background petal comes out from the front petal. And then I'm going to go back to, I'm actually just going to use the white tool with the orange tip. And there's no rule for this. I just like to, I was using these, it's just the tip in between the tip I used for the blue and the tip I used for the orange, because I'm just ready for a slightly smaller tip. And I'm just going to do 2 rows of the yellow. But before I commit, to be honest, to the 2 rows, I want to make sure I have enough room, which I do, because I want to make sure I leave room to come up the middle. Because I'm going to show you that now. I'm going to use that same tip, and I just want to do brown, 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 brown. And that's kind of what that petal gets filled in to look like. You could also, I suppose, put the brown, 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 brown up there, and then yellow around it. I don't suppose it really matters. And after we fill in the petals, I'm just going to show you how to go back and add what I call double dots. We're going to add a second layer of dots to the middle section. And boy, does that make a huge difference. I mean, you don't have to. I always remind people, you don't have to do this. You can do it your own way, or if you really like them big and bold like that, just please leave them the way they are. What I've discovered, what I think I like, is the level of complexity that second row or second layer of dots, if you will, provides. All right, so is that making sense to everybody? Let's see what we got here. Any questions? Okay. Nope, you guys are doing fine. Okay. So funny doing these, you know, you're going along and I've never even counted up how many dots are on here. And the whole time I'm doing it, I'm always thinking, wow, this doesn't look complete. This doesn't look complete. And then all of a sudden, boom, at the end, it's like, wow, that's exactly what I wanted it to look like. I mean, it's nice and full, and you really need all the dots for that, which I think is somewhat amazing to me. It almost doesn't look like anything till all the dots are on it. I think that was very true on what I called the 2020 plate, the one I showed you at the beginning. I was working on that plate. That one I hadn't really sketched it out or anything. I kind of did it right out of my head. And it was really just fun to watch it develop. But it was like when I put the last dot in, it actually is like, yes, that's what I wanted. Okay. So for mine, I've got all my petals dotted. I don't know where you guys are at. But the last bit that I'm going to show you is about double dotting. So I'm going to show that to you because, again, it doesn't require for you to watch me do each dot once you see how it's done. It's kind of intuitive. So I'm going back to using essentially the orange and the brown. And what I'm going to do is on the inside here, wherever I have a brown dot, I'm going to dot the inside with orange. And wherever I have an orange dot, I'm going to dot the inside with brown. It's basically as simple as that sounds. So what I do is I'm going to start with the white tool with the orange tip, the biggest tip. And this is a dot, dot, dot moment. So I start with the largest dot. And then that way, by the time I get down to the small dots, I don't have very much paint left. The other thing I want to do before we even do that is actually put a nice sized dot in the middle because I want that to dry because I'm going to put another dot on top of that. I'm going to triple dot that one. So I'm going to go around on the center with my white tool with the orange tip, and I'm going to add a dot to the center of each one. Very, very light when I get to the middle. Sometimes you have to redip. But then if you redip, Christine, this is like a question you asked before. You don't want to leave it sitting on your dot so much. On your plate, just like very lightly dot it. Because you don't want it to completely cover the base dot. All right. And I guess you guys can probably figure out the next step, the last step or I guess it's the second to last step, which is that we're going to put a little bit of a brown dot using the same tip and the same technique, dip and then dot, dot, dot. We're going to use the brown paint and do that on all the orange dots. Now the brown paint is oftentimes more fluid, so you want to go very lightly on those, trust me, or you'll end up with a all globbed, like a way more on there than you want. So dip lightly and dip and dot lightly, I guess is what I'm trying to say when it comes to the brown glaze. All right. Be curious what you think. You can let me know, like when you drop your plates off, what you think of how the double dotting changes the look of the piece. And the last thing I'm going to do is use that same tip and just add a little tiny brown dot, and you can do it right on top of the wet in the middle. So that one's got 3 layers on it. And that's the whole plate. So I'm going to ask you guys who are still with us, if you have any questions for me or you want to finish dotting on your own. Is there anything that I moved ahead on that you didn't catch or that you need me to repeat? I can do that now. And then I can set you free. What do you think? Whoops, that's really close. So that's the double dotting, so you can see how that turned out. Pretty awesome. Oops, I forgot one. That's so funny. Remember I told you that? Sometimes you just forget something. Here we go. All right. Crack me up. All right. So are you guys good? Let me know if you're not. I will stick around, but not if you don't need me. I'm going to free you up to dot in peace. All right. Well, you guys all hopefully have the number for the studio because I'm going to be here cleaning up. 518-823-4053. If you have any questions or, and then as you're finishing up here, just give me a ring and I will help you through it. But otherwise, I'm going to let you go. Thank you so much for joining us. And I will look forward to seeing your plates coming in. Good night.